Hi everyone, welcome back to the Reclaimed Ranch. If you're new here, my name is Tara, and today I have 4 more fall projects for you. So this first project, I bought these little pumpkins, and it came with a set of 5, and probably 4 years ago, they've just been sitting down in my basement, so I decided to do something fun with them. I got this idea from Sonnet, from Sonnet's Garden Bloom. She did this with pears, and it turned out absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to be using DIY's Pennies from Heaven, and it's a beautiful gold, rose gold, copper patina. And then the Shipwrecked DIY wax is a gorgeous like teal color. And so you'll see at the end, they turn out so pretty. And this is just an easy project to update something that looks old, has that old, the really orange, red, and yellow tones to fall. As the years go by, people get really creative and start adding blue tones and whites and creams and all kinds of fun stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead and completely cover that pumpkin there with the Shipwreck DIY wax, and you can see here the difference. How pretty is that? I just love how they turned out. So pretty simple yet effective project. And this next one, I used this paper in a previous project or a previous video, and I wanted to go ahead and use the rest of it. So I'm going to go ahead and use my water technique to tear it apart. And I found this little I don't know if it's like a shadow box or just a little box, brand new, creative box. And I'm going to use DIY's Skeleton Key. It's got gray but a beautiful blue hue to it. So it's kind of sticking with the blue theme that I'm going to do for fall. And I'm going to give it 2 good coats, and then I'm going to let it dry completely. And we're going to decoupage that little squirrel and the little fall bucket onto this piece. And then I'll do some blending because I'm going to put them in a spot where it's a little bit different looking. One's going to be taller than the other, but I kind of wanted to blend and have some fun with painting. So I'm going to go ahead and take my Fusion casement. It's a really pretty white, but I want to give this decoupage paper a white background without painting on my surface. So this is the easiest way to do that. That way those gorgeous fall colors will pop when I decoupage that on. So just 1 coat's good enough to do the trick. And then I'm going to take my Fusion's Decoupage Transfer Gel, which all these Fusion products you can buy on my website. I am a retailer for that. And I'm going to use that to decoupage my paper on. I'm going to do a starter strip at the top and then work my way down. That way I have less air bubbles to worry about, and rice paper usually is actually really good for not having that many problems, so that's why I love to work with it. And then we're going to finish that up, and then I'm going to put the other piece kind of next to it on the bottom lower part. See how that kind of looks a little wonky? But I do have a project in mind, so don't worry. I'm going to go ahead and decoupage this on, and then I'm going to spend some time blending paints. And then we're going to take one of those little pumpkins that I painted up at the top there. I have an extra 2, so I'm going to take one, cut it in half, and make those come out of the little squirrel barrel. So that'll be fun. And I do use all kinds of colors, so Cathedral Taupe, Algonquin, and Woodwick. Those are the browns that I'm going to be using, and then I believe I used Homestead and Willowbank to bring in some of the blues. It's kind of hard to see, but there is some blues in that decoupage paper. So I'll let you relax, listen to some music, and watch me paint. Okay, so here's where we are going to take those pumpkins. I'm taking just one, cutting it in half, and I wish it was just a tiny bit smaller to fit in that bucket, but I'm just making do and trying to use up what I have. So I'm going to go ahead and paint these pumpkins kind of in the same colors that I have been using. One of them is going to be like a creamy color, and then the other one's going to be blue. And I do have to remove some of the foam. Sorry, it's out of frame. I cut part of it off and then removed some of the foam so that it kind of layers over the top of the other one like that. And then I'm like, nope, that's not going to fit. So we'll just have two pumpkins. So we're going to go ahead and I'll end up painting those pumpkins. I have to figure out a better way to angle that camera so you guys can see. My desk is fairly large. There we go. I'll move it up a little bit, but so I'm just going to paint this one cream, and then I do end up putting in like a different tone, a little darker tone in the creases. And I actually believe I put on this one, I think I used a little bit of orange as well to bring back some of those tones on the leaves and the buckets. So yeah, this was a fun project. I love to continue on blending. This is still pretty new to me. I learned it from my friend Debbie Frimmer at Elsie Lane Art Garage, and she's just an amazing furniture blender. Like, she can take any piece of furniture and paint and blend and make it just look amazing. So you should go check her YouTube out as well, and Facebook. And so yeah, we're gonna go with the blue. I tend to go a little bit lighter in the creases, bring out some highlights, and then I will be using, you can see off to the left there, my good old standby Tight Bond Quick and Thick glue to glue these pumpkins on. Then I did also add a couple of little pieces of fall floral in between the pumpkins or at the top of the pumpkins, just to fill in that space a little bit more. And then we will be using some of the IOD stamps, I believe it's typesetting, to spell out the word autumn on the top. And I think that turned out pretty great. Okay, so yes, it was the Iron Orchid Designs letterpress stamp set, and I'm just trying to rearrange the letters. I never usually measure, I just kind of eyeball. But what I like to do is I like to place the letters down where I want them, and then I use the thin mount to push down and pick them up. And I'm going to be using the IOD ink in black and put it right at the top, and then we will clean those off, put those back, and then I also just go ahead and re-ink the U there and place it in where it needs to go. And then I did take, here's my type on, for the frame around it, I did end up using, it's called Hello Hobby from Walmart. I don't think they sell this brand anymore. I think they went back to the Waverly, but it's an antique wax, and I just take a baby wipe with the antique wax and I rub it along the wood, the raw wood frame, and it turns out to be a perfect brown to go with these buckets and foliage and stuff. So I thought that ended up being perfect. You'll have to let me know in the comments what you guys think. All right, so project 3 is a set of salt and pepper shakers. They are the wood, and honestly, I have like 6 sets of these. So I thought I'd try something fun for the fall, and I am using the DIY color Queen Bee, which I received in Sonnet from Sonnet's Garden Blooms, her maker box. So that's what I love about those maker boxes. A lot of times you'll get paint colors that you typically wouldn't use. So I wanted to try something new and thought we'd give this a try. So we're going to give this set 2 even coats of this Queen Bee color. It's actually a really good yellow for fall. And then once that dries, I'm going to go ahead and seal it with the DIY big top. And then I still have some leftover transfer from my Prima, redesigned by Prima. I did dried flowers, and they are so gorgeous. So I want to put some of those on there, but we're going to distress with my little finger sander here. And this guy is just amazing. I love this little tool. It's just definitely one that I would recommend having in everybody's little crafty toolbox. So I'm going to go ahead, distress it back, and then we'll seal it, because the DIY paint is a clay-based paint, so it does need to be sealed before adding anything to it, because it is reactivated by water. So you want to make sure to seal it before being able to use it at the dinner table. Okay, so here we go with the sealer, the big top after show. And with this, I only put 1 coat, but I made sure it was nice and even and had some good substance to it. And you want to make sure to let it completely dry before trying to add the transfers. I didn't show it, but I want to tell you guys that I got a little anxious and tried to put a transfer on before it was ready, and ended up pulling off the sealer and ruining the transfer. So just make sure to let it cure. I think I let it sit for another 1.5 hours to 2 hours before I attempted the second time. So just want to give you a heads up on that. So this is after it's completely cured. Being a round surface, sometimes if you cut the edges like I'm doing here, it helps it to be able to lay a little bit more flat so that you can get in there and get that transfer to lay down. But just take your time, use the little tool. Sometimes I use my fingers, try and get into those little teeny tiny grooves and stuff, and eventually it will come off, and then you can burnish it with that. And also I just kind of rubbed my finger over it as well to make it sit down nicely. So that's what I love about transfers, is you can cut all these different images out. You don't have to follow what they put on there, and you can make it your own. So I'm just putting one kind of in the middle, one at the bottom on each of these, and I think it turns out pretty cool. I don't, usually go out of my comfort zone of the neutral colors, but this yellow I think is kind of growing on me a bit. I can see doing some bee projects in the spring with it and kind of some fun stuff. So here I always try and get a little corner up and stick my finger underneath and kind of pull, and then it'll lift it up, but then you can use your tool to push it down. So um, usually it makes it pretty easy. So this last project, I do have a lot of wooden little charcuterie boards and cutting boards and stuff in my basement. So I thought, well, this one looks like a wine bottle, but I thought I would turn it into more of like some decor. So I took the little leather piece out and we're going to give it a pretty color of paint, and I used Bellwood Infusion. It's got a really pretty neutral tone to it, but it's got a hint of green in there. And so then I'm going to show you a way to be able to paint pumpkins without having to be an artist. I'd like to cheat a lot of the times. So if you have some stamps that have leaves or acorns or pumpkins, you know what? I think my camera, I was having problems with my camera this day, and it did not seem to want to stay recording. So I think I do show you how to stamp. But I took IOD's Fruitful Harvest stamp set, took the pumpkins out, and the pumpkin that goes with this is larger. I just stamped the size that I wanted and then put it on there. So it's kind of like a little, just an outline of the pumpkin itself, and then I go in and paint it. So I am going to put another little tiny pumpkin to the left of this, and I believe it will show you. But right now I'm just putting in some details in the stem, and sorry you guys, I was thinking I was recording, but apparently not. So hopefully we get the small one recorded for you. And I'm just adding in, those blues are just a little too prominent for me, so I'm going back over with the cream color and some water to kind of dilute it and just make it a little less visible. Just want the essence of those creases in there. Okay, so now we're doing the little pumpkin, and the only ink I had was the IOD black ink. I wanted like more of a light gray. So what I did was, while it was still wet, I'm going to take this baby wipe and just wipe down the pumpkin itself just to give it that light outline. I didn't want the black to be super dark because we're painting over it. So, and then this is where we have fun. We get to paint in whatever color you want, and then you just put in your creases, and there you have a pumpkin without having to worry about drawing from freehand. Even though I've heard that they were usually pretty easy to draw freehand, I still, if I can save a little time knowing that I'm going to get a perfect pumpkin, that's the route I'm going to go. So I decided to use a blue for this one, and then I'm going to use a little bit of a darker color for the creases. And you can do whatever you want. That's what's so nice. And you can add highlights, you can add lowlights, all kinds of stuff. And so this is where you can get creative, but you still end up with a gorgeous pumpkin in the end. And so I'm going to do the same process. I'm putting some leaves and foliage over to the left of the pumpkins, and I'm going to stamp those on there, wipe them back, and then go ahead and paint, and then do the veining in that time. And then I will also, I wasn't able to record, but also be doing a name above. I did use the same IOD stamp set typesetting to stamp the words Harvest Blessings on there. And I think this piece just turned out super, super cute. Now, because I'm using the Fusion paints, I did not need to seal this. It's only for decor anyway. If you did want to use it for food, you could place like cellophane or wax paper or something on top, and then go ahead and put the food on that. But definitely just basically for home decor and I'll let you guys again listen and relax to some music. And here I'm actually using my little mask on the lower leaf there so that it looks like the bigger leaf is behind it. You can see how that transformed there. So that's kind of a fun thing to do as well, where you can get different depths and things like that. So you'll have to let me know what your favorite project is. I'm having a hard time with this one. I think it's going to be the little squirrel basket picture. I think just because it was so much fun blending and doing different things with that, making it kind of a little shadow box. So I think that's going to be my pick for this go round. But y'all let me know what you think, and I hope you have a great Labor Day weekend and spend time with your friends and family. Be safe out there, and I will be back on Tuesday with another flip for y'all. Take care. Bye.